Hello, good evening. I have the incredible Shane Jacobson here. Thank you so much for agreeing to do with me.
Pleasure. Great to be here.
Now, we are celebrating excellence this evening. You have many projects on the go. You're a papa bear and a loving husband. For other businesses that are joining us tonight watching and go, how does he do it? What advice would you give?
Yeah, it's the time juggle, isn't it? And the other thing is too that I do, it's business excellence. We're here to celebrate and award as well. But I'm also a business owner, so me and my wife have 14 small businesses and companies as well. But it's a great question. How do you manage your time amongst being a hopefully good father and a husband, but also running businesses? So the answer is, you've got to constantly adjust it because the truth is, am I getting it right? Probably not. And I think the most important thing is to know that is something you can constantly adjust. It's like driving a car. You never keep your hands completely still when you're driving a car because the road changes direction all the time, and so does the weather conditions, and so does the speed. And you'll get to a speed hump. Now there's potholes in the road, so now we've got to all of a sudden unexpectedly brake when we didn't think we had to brake. But ain't that business? So the truth is, I think people have to. So often people say, "How do you go with your time management?" And sometimes I get it right, and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I get it perfect, and sometimes I get it appalling. And other times, you just have to accept that sometimes family comes first, but there's also those times that the business will take over and you go to your family, I'm going to have to focus on this because otherwise the business is going to suffer. So if I have to give you the final answer, the truth is, do I get it right? And should I be giving advice on how to do it? Not necessarily, because just like everyone else, I constantly have to check into myself and go, what needs more time at the moment because what's about to fail? So that's all I do. It's like when you pull into a service station, sometimes you pull in and you only need petrol or diesel. Other times when you go in there, it needs an oil change. And sometimes when you go in there, you just need to put some air in the tyres. So go with the flow.
Go with the flow. I love that analogy, and just keeping flexible and fluid to go with who needs you the most for that given day.
And it is that, it's often said as a negative thing when everyone says it's the squeaky wheel that gets the oil. But it should be the squeaky wheel that gets the oil, because if that wasn't the right analogy, then you'd be putting oil on a wheel that doesn't need it. And then the squeaky one would get worse, and then the squeaky one would end up breaking down, and then the whole vehicle doesn't work. So it's funny when everyone goes, oh, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. I always think, yeah, and it should. They use it as a way of saying, if there's a person out there that's yelling the loudest, that they'll get what they want. But in business, I think you should put the oil on the squeaky wheel.
And when you look at businesses, and tonight we're going to be inspired by excellence and people doing great things in the community, where do you look for inspiration to keep yourself green and growing?
Yeah, it's everywhere, isn't it? I think inspiration's everywhere. I've only got to look at a single mum or a single dad and look at their time management or the way they handle themselves and manage to do it with a smile. Not always. You can find inspiration there, or you can find inspiration in a large business. I'll tell you where I found it, in the most unlikely of places. Only just the other week, I was doing shows on a cruise ship and landed in Vanuatu. We got off in Vanuatu, and then I had to fly back to do some more gigs here in Australia, including this one. They've not had tourism in Vanuatu since before COVID. And they've had just no tourism. Like literally their tap got turned off. And I spoke to a few people there that were working in a resort, asking them how they coped, because I literally thought, I'm interested to know what happens when the tap gets turned completely off, which, as we know, COVID did to many businesses. It did to entertainment. And they said, we've got each other, we've got family, and we've got friends. And they basically explained to me that they had to go back to getting some food from the land and focus on finding joy in family and friends. And I went, what a great lesson to be remind us of that. But when they found out tourism was coming back, so many of the staff that I was talking to volunteered to go back to the resort early, knowing it had overgrown, the grass had overgrown. They hadn't been keeping up the maintenance. So many of the staff went back to help their employer get back in the game. And I went, gosh, imagine if more employers would do that. Now, I'm not expecting people to go and work for free. That's not my point. But I found that inspiring to think these staff went, we need to do this for our people, for our families, for our boss's business. So I thought that was stunning. And again, I'm not suggesting that people should be going to work for free, but I loved the fact that as a country they were trying to get back on their feet by helping each other and then helping their employers so that they could then get tourism back in their country and help their own economy. So, yeah, inspiration's everywhere, I think.
Inspiration's everywhere, and certainly I can see for yourself also just the concept of giving back. So it's not about doing things for free, but also having that philanthropic approach. And I know you've been and continue to be involved in many projects with special kids. And I saw something with beautiful Harry that helping him to get to the Olympics,
Special Olympics, yeah.
Special Olympics. So with businesses that want to go and make a difference, and they just don't know where to start. What would you say to them?
Always start in your community. Yeah. Always start in your community. You look after those around you, and then you're right. You don't want to do it just to help your business, but by the same token, you need your business to work to have something to give. Yes. If your business goes under, you have no money to give to your community. So I'm from the Macedon Rangers, and a lot of the businesses there make sure they support the local sporting teams, and I think that is important because it helps your community, and it helps in many ways. If you're helping the netball and the tennis club and the football club and the soccer club and everything else, that gives youth something to do. It teaches them how to become a part of a team, and if they're part of a team, they've got something to aspire to. They'll make good citizens. They'll make good employees. It keeps them, dare I say it, off the streets. And if they're kicking a footy, they're not kicking your front shop window in, you know what I mean? So giving money to something that helps the community becomes a part of its own eco-cycle. And look, if I can give one last bit of advice to businesses, my whole business world is entertaining people. And people say, we like watching you on TV, or we like coming to see your show. And all it is me being hopefully enjoyable for other humans to engage with and be a little bit entertaining. I can't tell you that the disappointing thing for me to confess to people is that's all I do. I don't have anything to trade. I can't sell you something. But people enjoy me just being enjoyable. So in business, I always want to remind people that every client that comes through your door, whatever it is you do, if you go to a client, you walk through their front door or they walk through your front door, apart from the business transaction, don't be afraid to have a bit of fun with them. Don't be afraid to try and be a bit entertaining. Don't be afraid to be a bit lighthearted, because they'll remember it as an enjoyable transaction. Whatever it is your business is, if you're having fun with them while you're doing business, they'll enjoy the transaction. And don't be afraid to say things like, thanks for your business. All that old stuff that used to happen, thank you so much for your business. It means the world to me. If you say that to them on their way out, you've made them feel good for spending money with you. And when they're ready to part with their cash again, they might want to come back and give it to you, because they'll have that feeling. They remembered it being an enjoyable experience. So I just want people to know, if they can put a little bit of what I do in entertainment into their business, it cannot hurt. And you don't get taxed for being more enjoyable.
Shane, we are so grateful you're here. We haven't even begun yet. I think we need another show just to chat with you. Hit in the comments who wants more of Shane. Thank you so much. Pleasure. Have a great evening. Thank you for being here, and all the very best for the remainder of the year and beyond, Shane.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Keep watching. We're about to begin.